not exactly a blank canvas, but it's the beginning stages of it. And this is going to be a painting of Longboat Key Beach. You see I've drawn a nice horizon line, and it's not smack dab in the middle of the painting, but I wanted to have enough space to have a nice sky and a nice beach all at the same time. And this is what I did, is I used this handy dandy item to save me some time, so my line was very straight and I can start to work on each area of this painting. So you see I'm just laying in some colors here, and it's, you know, it is a bit of experiment, and I want a darker sky at the top because we're going to have a sunset, so I'm just trying to lay in some of these darker colors so I can have the contrast that I need for the sunset to really pop in this picture. And of course the beach, I am going by this photo here, which is you know, I'm using that as a guide, and I'm just putting in my own touches with it, so you can see that I have nice purples in here. You know, I've got a basic palette which I've used up all of my colors right for the moment, and I've got blue, a crimson, and cadmium yellow medium, and some cobalt blue, and of course white, and a type of purple which is it's a violet. So there we are with the start to this painting, just by laying in the colors, the sky and the beach. We're getting a little bit more done with this painting, and I went from my huge brush to my medium-sized brush, and you can see I'm mixing different shades of this purples and blues and a little bit of yellow here, and I'm trying to decide where I want my center of interest and my sunset, and I'm looking at the middle of this canvas, and I'm deciding over here it's going to be where my sun is going to be, my sunset. And you can see that I started to put this reflections from the sunset, and then there's this sea oats, which I started to just draw in a little sand dune over here. And you know, I'm just kind of, I'm putting the dark on the bottom of the clouds and the light on the top of the clouds, so they look real, they look three-dimensional. So we're just making progress on this painting. I really, since I started rather dark, I had somewhere to go with the contrast. And so you see I started to put in a little, you know, a sand dune with some vegetation and some grasses, and we're going to come up here and do the sea oats, and started to put in a little bit of the waves and the highlights, but I think it can only get better. So you see I'm putting in some more detail, and I'm just using my smaller brush and my palette, and I'm adding some of the darks in this area, you know, and getting a little bit of the detail in here. And I'm just using little strokes, and I'm trying to get a bit more detail. As you see, I've darkened this area as well to match the top of the sky, which I like to tie that in, and adding a little bit of detail in the bottom of it, and some darks, and it's just dark and light to make it come alive. I want this line to be nice and straight at the horizon, so I am just, firming it up, which I like. There we go. And I had to get my straight edge out to make sure that it was straight. And it's even the stroke is, some of these strokes are not quite straight, so I am gonna add some of those in here, and we're, you know, really at a very detailed stage of this painting. you know, for me, you see I'm holding my brush real close, and that's a line which is throwing this off because it's curved and it should be nice and straight. That's looking pretty good. I probably will lighten that up a little bit. And so I just take a little bit of white to my cobalt blue, and I can put some of these little lines in here. And it wouldn't be for everybody to do this much fine detail, but I like it. And I think it adds to the painting. So I am just adding a little bit of this waves, which are kind of breaking on the shore, and so what I'm doing is adding some of the shore which is coming through. I'm going back in over the dark water and bringing some of the shore coming through. So really, painting is a process of going over things and tweaking things, you know, to get them to look realistic and to get them to look, you know, to make things pop and to have some wow factor, which I'm trying to add a bit of that to this painting because it's looking pretty wow actually already, and I still have some ways to go on it. I'm hoping that you can see this as I'm doing it. We'll find out. There we go, a few highlights here and there, and they shouldn't all be lined up like little tin soldiers, right? Nature has variety. And those are a little bit like tin soldiers, but it's pretty small. And we'll put one here, and we're just adding some of the highlights to this after I put in the dark. Oh yes, it's looking better. So here I am in my bedroom again, in my studio, and you see I've been working on this painting for some time, but I just want to get in here and get a little bit of the detail. And mostly the rest of this painting is going to be detail, and it's quite a lot of detail. So I want to put some darks in here, and you can see I'm just using the tip of this brush, and I'm going to put some of this vegetation, you know, behind the sea oats here, and making some dots. And I look back and see, hey, is that what I really want? I want a few, of course. So I will do the darks first, and then I'll do the, you know, the highlights of these little leaves. And this is kind of these, we got sea oats and sea grapes, and these sea grapes have these kind of big leaves. So that's probably, I might just try to balance it out a little bit. I'm going to put a little one here. I don't want to get too carried away with them, and less is more. And then I'm going to mix my yellow with my blue. I've got two blues here actually, so then you can see a bit of my leaves. And yeah, see now, in that case, right, less is more. Just since that looks so nice, I'm tempted to overdo it and do lots of those pretty colors, but aha, there's just a little bit, maybe a little too much. And a little here and a little there goes a long way. And that's behind the, I'm going to just add a little bit of pure color. Not much. You can see how it sings, right? Oopsie. A little too much maybe. But, you know, acrylic paint kind of gets sucked up in the process. And I'm doing some of these little flowers that grow on the beach. There's a couple there. And it looks easy enough. I'm definitely not done with these sea oats, but I just want to show you. I'm adding like a little bitty teeny highlight. I got my fingers close to the brush. And there's a little bit of a highlight. Just adds some, yeah, you know, some wow to this. I think that just a few touches, as I just did, made a big difference in this painting already. And I think I need to go in here and lighten up some of this bit, you know. And get this, two of these highlights, right? Actually, this is a bit of a mixture, which I wanting a more pure color, so I just washed my brush off. And let's see where I'm at. So I'm just lightening up some spots here on the beach in the foreground, and you know, making it a little more interesting with some color. And I might just add a little bit of that over here. I'm going to fuzz it out a little bit. It's a little bit too much. And just, I don't like to overdo it. And over here maybe add a little bit of, a little more pizzazz right near the horizon, which is a little more red of a color. You see that? It's not, I don't want to get carried away, especially with that. And I'm going to bring my sun down a little bit. Oh, let's see if I like that. I'm going to spread it out a little bit with my finger. It's a nice soft instrument. You see what I mean? Yeah, I kind of like that. I'll add a little of that in here. Not much, less is more. Yep, isn't that pretty? A little bit of that here. It's just these little touches that make this painting kind of sing, right? So here I am. I am finishing it up, and you can see lots of little details here, and I'm just adding some of the colors that would make it pop a little bit. You know, some of this kind of bluish and yellowish highlights, and I'm not sure about. Of course, I added the sea oats, and I added some highlights to those as well. You can see that. And just a few more little touches, and I have to add some people in here, and I've got to figure out where it is I want to put those guys. Somewhere around here, I suppose. Yep, right in here, and then I'll be done. You can see that the painting is really essentially done, and it you know, took a number of days. Actually, I did spend a fair amount of time on this painting, unlike the painting lessons. And this is a commission which I did for someone who contacted me from my website, and he described the kind of painting he wanted of Longboat Key, which this photograph is from Longboat Key. And of course I added some of the details, and him and his wife on the beach at sunset. And you know, you can see some of the fine details, which I started out with my big brush, like I usually do, went to a smaller brush. And in this particular painting, I did spend quite a bit of time on the details, which I think really makes this painting shine. And there I go, signed my name, and I think we're all finished with it, and we're ready to send it out.